So much to get into. Of course, that's the Super Bowl, obviously. I'm going to talk about some theft. That's right, you heard me. We're talking about theft here on this show. We're going into some SEC scheduling, some little bit of Major League Baseball, and a lot more about what the SEC's done, their revenues compared to other conferences. But first, let me tell you about my friends at Stream Studio. It is a multi-camera live streaming platform that allows you to go live in less than 1 minute. It is a video podcasting live webinar streaming platform that allows you to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media. Thank you for joining me on the Lock It Down Sports podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, we're there. Go check us out. And like I said, wanted to start with the Super Bowl. What a game. Incredible, incredible game. Except for it's like you are hoping for a more exciting ending. I mean, I get it. I understand what Casey was doing and what they did. Obviously, run down the clock, kicking the field goal, and not scoring. But like Jared McKinnon there, running to rush in that end zone, and could have told everybody, his grandkids, look, I scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. But now he's going to be like, well, I could have scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, and here's why. We're going to get into the Super Bowl a lot more, but that's just some opening, I loved it. It was such a good game. Two high caliber teams and quarterbacks and offenses and what they want to do, what they were trying to do. Impressive and incredible. I mean, then you get to the entertainment part of it, not outside of the game. National Anthem, I thought Chris Stapleton did a great job. Wasn't too long, wasn't too short. I mean, I like Chris Stapleton anyway, but excellent performance. I thought National Anthem. Halftime, you had Rihanna. I've never seen her in concert, never seen her perform live, but I thought she did well. I thought she did good. She hit all her songs, obviously her headliners, her blockbuster songs. And look at her for doing it while she was pregnant, too. They came out and said it like, obviously not broadcast, but one of her reps on Twitter confirmed that, yes, that was a baby bump that Rihanna had going on. I mean, I thought she performed well. I appreciated that there wasn't these 17 costume changes for each song that we've seen in the past with a bunch of other ladies performing. So it was good. Like I said, I've never seen her perform in concert, so I would imagine that's very similar style she was performing in concert. But you could tell that she wasn't singing entirely because you heard they had music playing of her songs. You could see her, there was times she was stopping and she was dancing and her lyrics are still coming out. So that was the only thing, but small performance. And I mean, good job as far as all that goes with the entertainment outside of the game. Like I said, we're going to SEC scheduling of what they're going to do here a little bit later now with the recent announcement. Also, I want to talk about why location matters. It does, and we'll get into that as well. Major League Baseball came out with some rules, and I guess confirming some rules, shall I say, really, with runners on second are going to be a permanent thing now moving forward. I would imagine they haven't said this in the announcement, or I haven't seen this, where postseason's still going to be regular baseball. And then during the regular season, they're going to put a runner on second during extra innings. So that's, at least they understand the importance of the playoffs, thankfully. So that's a new rule that, I guess not really a new rule. That's going to be like a permanent, it was like a trial basis, but usually, you know how those things go. When it becomes a trial and a rule, they usually don't change. And then this one, which I hate that rule, by the way. Absolutely hate it. This one though, this one's not a big deal. This one really doesn't come into factor that much. So position players now can only pitch an extra innings or in the ninth inning for the leading team for the team that is leading by up to 10 or the trailing team that is down by 8 or more. And obviously you understand why that's done. It's to set the bullpen on the for these teams, especially when they don't have a lot of off days coming up of they're in a stretch of 10 in a row. We're getting hammered one night. Let's throw a position player out there to save a few innings or two from our bullpen, which can be a big deal. It really can when you're in that long stretch of games. I don't know if you saw this. I've kind of been talking about it here recently too. So Diamond Sports Group, owner of Bally, will skip their $140 million payment for February, which, like I said, essentially will make them go bankrupt. So now it's the talk of where are these games going for all the organizations that Bally broadcasted? Well, it's looking like now it's going to be back into control of Major League Baseball. And they're going to work to try to distribute that on cable partners. Hopefully, they're going to get into the streaming game as well. And then also, too, I think this is good. There's going to be no more blackouts. What I mean by that is MLB TV, their service where you can watch any game, anywhere, anytime, except for if you live in the market of that team. So you lived in Atlanta, you get the MLB TV package. You couldn't watch the Braves, but you could watch every other Major League Baseball game except for the Braves. That's the same thing in New York. You can watch every game but the Mets and the Yankees. They're going to fix that, which is good. I mean, it's about time Major League Baseball starting to care about their fans. It really is. Now, talking about caring and money, the SEC cares about money, and just like all other conferences. In revenue this past year, they brought in $721.8 million in revenue. That's $49.9 million per school. Funny enough, that's less than last year at $54.6 million per school. And that's going to even go up once they've agreed to once their their ESPN SEC deal is money's distributed. And really, the only conference that is anywhere in that ballpark is the Big Ten, as they're pulling in about $10 million. Excuse me, $40 million per school. Outside of that, it's not even close. So it's been the exact same why schools are dying. Have been, we're going to the Big Ten or the SEC. Revenue, revenue, revenue. Not surprised, but that's the case. Now, like I said, the Super Bowl. Outstanding, outstanding game, especially for someone who didn't have a dog in the fight. I mean, two high-level teams, two great quarterbacks, two good offenses, squaring off, going head-to-head. And that's what we saw. I mean, especially that very first drive. All Philly does is score on their very first drive every single time this year. Guess what? That's what they did in their Super Bowl to set a tone. They got Smith involved early. And Kansas City's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Their first drive got Kelsey and Pachenko involved early, which to me, the Kelsey part's really important. He's your leader, without a doubt. He's your playmaker. He's your guy. Him and Mahomes are your guys, and yes, you've got other pieces that you like that are around him. But had to get Kelsey involved early. I loved it. They did that. Philly, big play. Second touchdown. Huge play on from A.J. Brown in the end zone with like a 45-yard bomb. Boom, touchdown. They jump off early, jump ahead early. It's like, okay, all right. So Kansas City, what do you got? Where you at? As the game progresses, keeps going, there's always these little things in games, especially this magnitude, that can really separate and set you apart to see how big is this play. And obviously the Jalen Hurts fumble, scoop and score touchdown from Kansas City. I said, could be a huge change in the game. Well, the final score, how it shaked out, absolutely it was. But especially at that time in the game, they were driving. That fumble, scoop, and score got Kansas City back in it. Okay, back to Philly. About 5:20 left. In the second, Philly goes for it. Gutsy play. But they do it a lot. They end up scoring. On that second chance to go for it. I mean, in that second quarter, boy, that was a struggle. I don't know why that was, but yeah, they do that a lot and they executed. Once again, huge, incredible, important play. And then you look at half. You go into half. Kansas City's down 10. Interesting thing to me, and I'm usually not big on this, but the time of possession thing in this game was noticeable, especially in the first half. I mean, if a team go down and scores quickly, time of possession isn't much of a thing. Let's just say an example in college, like University of Tennessee. They can score so quick, time of possession, not as much of a thing if the other team has more time of possession than the Vols. And most of the time they do. But in this game, to me, I thought it mattered because Philly dominated the first half, not letting Mahomes get on the field as they had the 21 minutes and 54 seconds of time of possession was the Eagles in the entire first half. That's a huge chunk of the game. Ended up being 2 time of possession. Kansas City had 23 minutes and 13 seconds. 24 minutes, 13 seconds. Philly, 35 minutes, 47 seconds. That's still right there. It's a big deal. And then Kansas City down 10, opening up the third quarter. To me, they had to score the opening drive, and they did. Absolutely did score to get them back in this game. Now, in a game like this, in a game of this magnitude, a lot of times it's the little things that turn into big things. Because the offense is just so daggum good that Kansas City is going to capitalize on any little mistake. That's exactly what happened on that long punt return. First and goal, short field, they punched it in. Another one of their touchdowns. And that was really, to me, the big story of the game was the efficiency of the Kansas City offense. So less time of possession. They had 8 total drives in the entire game, okay? Compared to Philly's 10. They only ran 53 plays compared to Philly's 72. But they also had 6.4 yards per play compared to 5.8 yards for Philly. I mean, they held Patrick Mahomes in check really offensively. Yeah, of course, he had the 3 touchdowns. He only had 182 yards in the air. If you told me Patrick Mahomes was throwing for under 200, I think Philly would have been like, okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll absolutely take that in a heartbeat. Yeah, they put up good offensive numbers, but it wasn't eye popping. Like I said, efficiency. Kansas City, 4 drives in the second half. You know what they did? 4 scores, 3 touchdowns, and of course that game-winning field goal. Yeah, people want to complain about the pass interference call. Yeah, you can, or the non-call, the holding call, but you could also turn that Kansas City got the pass interference holding call. But you could turn around and say earlier in that game that catch and fumble that Kansas City returned for a touchdown ended up being incomplete. So those two big plays right there could almost say, you know what, that cancels each other out. Yeah, they were calling it a little, they weren't tight. They were back and forth calls all game. I mean, one of the earlier in the game could have gone against Philadelphia. It didn't. I believe it was on Travis Kelce up the middle on the third down. Like I said, as efficient as Kansas City's offense was, that might have been, and they might have ended up scoring that drive. So you can moan and groan about the pass interference call, but I don't think it was a deciding factor because there's back and forth calls all game. Not just one call directly impacts a game. So it was a fun game. It was a blast to watch. And I'm really happy we got a good Super Bowl outside of the anticlimactic last minute of the game. But you know what? We got a good Super Bowl. That's all I can ask for. Let me check with my friends at Stream Studio. It's a multi-camera live streaming platform that allows you to go live in less than 1 minute. It's a video podcasting live webinar streaming platform that allows you to stream to multiple platforms at the same time. Now, with the news announced that Texas and Oklahoma are joining the SEC, they're going to be joining early. They're going to be joining in 2024 instead of 2025. So I touched on that in my last podcast. You can go check it out at Lock It Down Sports on Spotify. But it's money. I mean, they come out. They're going to buy out of their TV deal rights, and they're going to join the SEC early. Now, flips it over to the SEC. What are you doing? What are you doing, SEC? How are you going to divide up this conference? What are you going to do now with 16 teams? I mean, you got a few options to go. I mean, one could be have no divisions. Just straight 1 through 16. That way, then the top 2 teams in the conference would go to the SEC championship game. I don't know if that's almost the best route to go at this point. And here's why. I mean, with the expanded playoffs, say it is Alabama and Georgia that are 1 and 2. Maybe they do, maybe they don't play each other in the regular season. They see each other in the SEC championship game. Okay, that's the first time they see each other. Then the expanded playoffs, there's a good chance they might see each other again. So they could potentially be played 3 times during the season. That's tough for both teams, 2 good teams squaring off and playing against each other. Maybe if you keep it to divisions, and which I'll get into later, it might not be the best teams, but it's one of the best teams and a good team in the SEC championship games. We'll see. Also, let's say they do go top 16 schools, just 1 through 16. How are they going to do the schedule? I think a route for them to go is they gotta figure out their permanent rivals, and that can be a tricky part. There's an article that mentioned 3 permanent rivals and 6 rotating. Personally, I like 2 permanent rivals, and here's why. I think it's easier, and it gives you gives you a chance to play other schools more often, and you get to play your more set rivals. For an example, let's just say Tennessee, okay? If they did the 3 model, obviously they don't know, but there's been reports and just kind of throwing mud on the wall and seeing what sticks. But let's just say in this example, it would be, for Tennessee, it would be Alabama, Vandy, and Kentucky. As a Tennessee fan, and you ask me, there's one rival on that permanent rivalry. Of course, it's Alabama. It's and we also play Kentucky and Vandy, the in-state, obviously the in-state school. Oh yeah, we play them too. They're on our schedule, but we get up for Alabama. If you ask me, I mean, more the rivals for Tennessee, of course, it's Florida and Georgia. Without a doubt, it's you get up for these games. All right, cool. We got Florida this year, or we got Florida at home this year. Okay, we're going to Athens. Let's go. We're ready. It's like, oh yeah, Vandy, we got them. And where's Kentucky fall on our schedule this year? Oh, okay, all right. Well, doesn't matter whether it's in Lexington, it's in Knoxville. Cool. We'll take care of them. That's why I like. Another reason I like 2. If they were to do, say, Tennessee, it would probably be the in-state and Vandy, and they would keep Alabama. Perfectly fine. Gives us more of an opportunity to play Florida and Georgia every other year. Or you can line it up. You always get Florida 1 year. You always get Georgia guaranteed the next year if you rotate it. So that's how I would like it. Also, too, I mean, let's just say, for example, you get a school like Missouri. They don't have any rivals. Honestly, it's like when they play rivalry, like they don't have their rival is Kansas. That's one of their big, obviously, from the Big 12. They haven't really developed any mean-spirited, hated rivalries in the SEC. I mean, the same thing with South Carolina. They really don't have any rivalries. I mean, their crossover games have even changed. I mean, it was Mississippi State. Now it's Texas A&M. Who's the permanent rivalries for South Carolina in the SEC? Clemson, of course. Yeah, they play their end-of-the-year game. Clemson, that's a different story. Wouldn't Missouri and South Carolina and your fan base want to have more of a rotating option? So you get to go play, say, Florida more. Your fan base gets to travel to the swamp or go out to Oklahoma or to Austin. I mean, things like that would be more, especially for that fan base. I mean, on that end, yeah, of course, some you could easily match up three schools without a doubt. Others it might be harder. Like I said, for the 2 model, Georgia, Auburn, Florida, easy. Bama, of course, Tennessee and Auburn. Florida, LSU, Georgia. Texas, obviously another easy one. Oklahoma, big rivalry. And finally, Texas A&M, Texas, which that game will be played every year now. back, thankfully. I mean, Oklahoma is easy one. Texas A&M. See, some of them are easy. LSU, Florida, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, LSU. I mean, some of them are easy. You pegging two connectors is easier, and I like that better because of the rotation. Or, like I said, the other mention was to keep it two divisions. Just do what they did when Texas A&M and Missouri came in. Throw Texas A&M on the west. Throw Missouri on the east. Exact same thing with Oklahoma and Texas. Doesn't matter. Throw Oklahoma on the west, Texas on the east. Sure, whatever, you know. So then you just divide it up. The only rub, which I do understand this on that positioning, would be you'd only play other schools from the other side once every 15 years if you basically kept the exact same crossover game of having two crossover games every year like it is currently set up. So I that would be the only rub for the fan base. Man, we haven't played Alabama in 15 years. We haven't played Texas in 15 years. Also, too, which I don't think this would be as much as it is like how the Big Ten is, it could create some unbalance on one side. Like I mentioned, you might not have the two best teams in the SEC championship game. But now with the expanded playoffs, that might not be as big of a deal. So I don't have an issue with it, but I would lean towards the two permanent and then rotating as opposed to the big divisions. But it's going to be, I'm interested to see how they are going to divide it up, and it should be really, really fun. Now, I don't know if you saw this as well. The Pac-12 is looking to expand, or let me rephrase that, not really expand, but looking to replace Southern Cal and UCLA, who's going to the Big Ten. Who are they eyeing? Well, before I get to that, let me introduce you to something of resumes. Okay, the one team they want in the last 5 years is 40-21 and has not won a conference championship. Another team they're interested in the last 5 years, 37-23, has not won a conference championship. The third team in one of the exact same conferences as one of the schools they're looking at is 44-16 in their last 5 years, have been in their last 5 conference championship games, and they've won one conference championship game. Those 3 teams are San Diego State, SMU, and Boise State. Do you know the difference between these 3 schools? To me, this screams media market size. They do not have a TV deal yet. Bigger media market sizes in San Diego and Dallas. San Diego, the 27th media market size. Dallas, the 5th. Are they better football programs than Boise? Absolutely not. Historically, they haven't been. They haven't been in the last 5 years. Oh, yeah. San Diego State and Boise, they're in the exact same conference. But Boise's media market size, 101. That's not Boise's fault. They can't help that. They just go out and win and produce and play. But less eyeballs in Boise than potentially in San Diego or Dallas. Now, I do have to question though, yeah, media market size, but is it the right eyeballs? Boise, if they'd in the Pac 12, I feel like it would be a more correct, concentrated market in Boise. I feel like for Dallas, there's more of a hunger and fan base for TCU, for Texas. I'm sure Texas A&M. All those schools have a bigger pool in Dallas to me than I would imagine a small little private school in SMU. Without a doubt. I get San Diego State, California, San Diego. They are basically they would be basically the other professional team in that market. It'd be them and the Padres. Obviously, with no NFL football there, it would be San Diego State, big man on campus, the football professional, because they get paid now, obviously, basically program there, and the Padres. I like the San Diego State. I do. That fits them geographically, which geographics don't really matter at this point anymore. But geographically, it fits. It's right there. And it's part of the California school systems, what they're looking for in an institution. Okay, that fits. Boise fits, except for 101, media market size. That's why they don't fit. And that's unfortunate for Boise. And it's looking like that's going to be tough for them to overcome. They've been a good program last 10 years. With expansion, haven't been able to get into the Big 12. Haven't been able yet to get into the Pac 12 with expansion. It's looking like it's going to be a tough uphill climb for Boise, even though they're a good product on the field. Now, I tell you what, this really ticked me off. And I don't even go to a lot of movies. I've been to, I guess the last movie I saw was Maverick Top Gun. And I didn't even see that immediately when it went in theaters. I saw that maybe a few weeks to a month and a half later. I don't know if you saw this. AMC is going to begin charging more for what they consider premium seating, i.e., sitting in the middle. So it's going to cost more to sit in the middle sections of the theater. Cheaper seats are going to be up front, close to the screen, and normal seat prices are going to be to the sides now of probably next to the rows, next to the aisles, things like that. Yeah, I get it. They're trying to make a buck, more bucks. They're struggling economically already. I feel like this is just a turnoff and make people more mad and less likely to want to go. It's like, wow, that sucks. Why do I want to go do that and pay more when ticket right now is already incredibly high? I mean, it's head scratching to me. I I don't agree with it. Yes, they see the dynamic pricing that's worked and what's being done in sports. So now they're going to try this model as well. I mean, to make some money, a one-time event thing, I think it would have been cool. And I don't know why they haven't done it. Because they do it for the national championship game. Is have the Super Bowl in theaters. Go watch on the big screen. Don't charge them the sky high price to go watch it. Make it I don't know, a $5 deal to come watch it on a big screen. And of course, they're going to make their money on all their food, etc. Their drinks, their beer, their popcorn, all that. That would have been cool. It's a cool concept that they do for the national championship game. No, I've never gone. I mean, some of it is, yeah, not everybody can easily, accessibly watch the national championship game because it's on ESPN and you might not have cable. But come on, if you want to watch it, you're going to find a way. A friend, bar, restaurant. I mean, it's very easily accessible just to go watch that, or even do a one-time trial on a streaming platform like a Hulu, like a YouTube, things like that. 7-day free trial. I mean, it's not hard to find a way, especially for something like that. It's really easy. But that would be a cool thing that the theaters, AMC, should do. I might have given them a $1 million idea, but you know what? I'm a giver, and that would be something to see. I don't know if they're going to do it. You thought they would have done it already because theaters been doing it with the national championship game. So I doubt it, but I wouldn't be surprised. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports. Talk to you next week.